With Diamond Core of Koa'ki Meiru peeling off the ban list, I think now's the best time to go back and remember the reign of terror that Koa'ki's caused on the metagame for months on end. It first started in Gaia Genesis, with the first wave of support. At the time, the deck was barely functional. While this archetype had plenty of powerful individual cards, the monsters destroy themselves unless a specific type of monster is revealed from the hand, or a core, an iron core, the card which ties them together, is sent from the hand to the graveyard during the end phase. This deck was pretty much unanimously regarded by the community as trash, as not even the best Koa'ki Meiru main deck monster, Drago, which saw a ton of use in the TCG as an anti-meta card, was present in the bots. But little did we know what was waiting on the horizon, as a single card would not only break this deck, but the game for many, many formats to come. Just before the new year, on December 31st, 2018, exactly 1 year ago, Duel Links released Revolution Beginning, a bot that contained Karakuri, a once powerful TCG archetype, Fables, a pretty decent synchro archetype, and Iron Chain. I have nothing nice to say about this deck, so let's move on. But it also contained Koa'ki Meiru support, and quite a bit of it. While cards like Wall and Rooklord were nice additions to the deck, the real chase card of the bots was Diamond Core of Koa'ki Meiru. Diamond Core is an extremely overloaded card that fixes every single flaw with the Koa'ki Meiru archetype. Unable to get a specific Koa'ki Meiru or even an Iron Core in your opening hand, it searches it. Tired of your monsters being destroyed in the end phase? It protects your Koa'kis from all destruction for the entire turn, and I mean all destruction. Even Treacherous Trap Hole couldn't stop a Koa'ki Meiru board. And the best part was that nothing in this card even mentions once per turn. Even without Koa'ki Meiru Drago, the Koa'ki card that would define Koa'kis in the TCG, Koa'kis were, without a doubt, the best deck going into 2019. And because Diamond Core was not a once per turn, drawing multiples only made for an even more unbeatable hand, because you could search for all the pieces that you needed, and have the protection from destruction. Going first, Urnite would special summon Wall to negate opposing Diamond Cores or various other spells in different matchups. And going second, Urnite would special summon Sandman to negate all sorts of traps that would otherwise hinder the ODK, such as Wall of Disruption, Paleozoic Canadia, and Flood Day Trap Hole. If there's no back row, then summoning Ice to pop your opponent's special summon monsters was also very strong. For this exact reason, the mere summon of an Urnite could bait out your opponent's powerful cards, because if they let Urnite resolve its effect, it could be devastating. And if you were saving your traps for Maximus, the true boss monster of the deck, which can destroy a card on the field for free once per turn, Sandman can protect it. Koa'ki Meiru gave very few options for counterplay, and because of the consistency that Diamond Core gave Koa'ki Meiru, they were able to establish this board of Urnite plus Maximus alongside a negate almost every single game. In March of 2019, because of the overwhelming dominance of Koa'kis for several months, Maximus was put to 1 and Iron Core was put to 2. This restricted the deck from playing such powerful semi-limit cards such as Treacherous Trap Hole and Hey Trunade, but also dampened the consistency of the deck. Immediately after the ban list, other decks such as Dinosaurs and Ancient Gears finally got a chance to shine in the metagame, and many of us thought that Koa'ki Meiru's finally died. But their reign of terror had only just begun. One thing I neglected to mention was that in January of 2019 there was a skills balance change, and one skill stands out amongst the rest of the changes: Kaiba Core Bling. After the balance change, its effect now read that every time your life points decrease by 1000 during your draw phase, you get to add 1 glossy or prismatic card from your deck to your hand. While Koa'ki Meiru's pre-March ban list were mostly playing Sealed Tombs for the Vampire or Mirror match, or tie that binds to guarantee an OTK with Urnite plus Sandman or Wall, or sometimes balance to guarantee an Iron Core or Diamond Core in the opening hand, post-ban list, it was almost mandatory to play Kaiba Core Bling. Hunting down glossy or prismatic Diamond Cores was pretty much the only way to make the deck viable. The global rank 1 Matsu from Japan played 3 glossy Diamond Cores. While I won't go into detail how expensive that is, just know that it's about a 1 in 10 chance of pulling a glossy, and about a 1 out of 100 chance to pull a prismatic. So each time you go through a bot, and Revolution Beginning was a main bot with 180 pats per bot, you get 2 shots of pulling a glossy or prismatic diamond core. If you didn't pull any, you'd have to go through it again, and again, and again. It promoted an unhealthy meta where people had to spend a ridiculous amount of money to play this tier 1 deck or play an inferior, less consistent version, just because you didn't have enough money or luck. Even full-powered Sith Samurais, which I'll have to make a video on at some point, wasn't strong enough to phase out nerfed Koa'kis. So while Koa'kis were not the most represented deck on the ladder, or in many organized events, that was because of how expensive the deck was to make, and not because of any particular weakness of the deck. When Sith Samurais were on the rise, Koa'kis played up to a playset of Cypher Soldier, which was a soft counter to many Sith Samurai boards. When Sub-Terra was meta, the deck ran more Koa'ki Meiru Ices, since Ice can pop special summoned monsters regardless of whether they are face up or face down. Versus Blue Eyes, Ice was also good, but so was Ally of Justice Cycle Reader, which by discarding itself could banish 2 light monsters from their opponent's graveyard, which should completely ruin a Blue Eyes player's day, because they would lose their Ancients and their Blue Eyes monsters. The deck could always find ways to adapt to the meta, and it always seemed to do so. In April 2019, a new EX structure deck would only continue to break the deck even more, the Neos Fusion EX structure deck. Neos Fusion not only helped Koa'kis establish a turn 1 board, which they struggled with in the past by setting up a Brave Neos, which was protected by Neos Fusion's in-grave effect in the Bacon Saver, which would be sent from the deck to the grave, but also gave Koa'kis a new cheesy OTK. First, you set Gale Lizard, then activate Neos Fusion, sending Elemental Hero Neos and AD Changer to the grave from the deck. Next, you banish AD Changer from the grave to flip up your Gale Lizard to bounce your opponent's monster to their hand. Brave Neos' 2600 attack plus Gale Lizard's 1400 attack was perfect lethal. Gale Lizard also got around other Brave Neos boards because Neos Fusion could only protect Brave Neos from destruction, not a Gale Lizard bounce. To finally curb the Koa'ki Meiru menace, on July 2019, a ban list dropped that spelled the end for this archetype. The Duel Links balance team realized that just hitting Iron Core and Maximus wasn't enough, and while Iron Core was removed from the ban list, Diamond Core took its place. This was a huge shock to the community. Before this ban list, only 2 bots SRs had been hit prior, Treacherous Trap Hole and Hate Trunade. The fact that Diamond Core had to be hit showed that it wasn't even about protecting player investment anymore, but about trying to cultivate a healthy metagame. Koa'ki Mirrors for over half a year tore up Duel Links and set such a high standard for every bots following it that they had to use a sledgehammer to take down this deck. With Diamond Core coming back to 3 on the most recent ban list and Iron Core taking its place at 2, I have to wonder, has Koa'ki Meiru's time passed? The deck is a shell of its former self, and I wonder if, even at full power, can it compete with modern decks? In our current metagame, we have decks that have boss monsters that are immune to destruction, decks that can set up full boards of 3 monsters, even more powerful spells and traps and monster effects than Koa'ki Meiru's ever had. But to think that is to miss the point of Koa'ki Meiru's. Koa'kis are not about the archetype itself, but about powerful, generic cards that are easily accessed with Diamond Core to deal with many different metagames and board states. And not only that, but the deck is so adaptable, and I wouldn't be surprised if some new cards provide unexpected support and make this deck tier 1 again.